I wanted to have a go with the thick paint brushes in Artrage and produce a really loose painting similar to the way I did the Matlock scene that was all sort of misty and moody, but I wanted to work with a photo that was really sharp. So this is the scene I've taken, I'm going to use, taken in the height of summer, lots of bright sunlight, everything sharp focus from front to the back, and I just want to see if I can paint it in a really loose style with big brush strokes and no detail. So let's get right into it. Here we are in Artrage then, and I'm going to begin as I normally do with a roller. I'm going to get some colour over the whole of the canvas. I like to do that, it helps me sort out my tones much easier, and I'm sort of putting a bit of local colour on it. I'm trying to get that sort of vibrant green in the foreground to push the foreground forward, and then I'm straight in with that flat paintbrush, not the thick oil one, just the flat paintbrush to start with, and I'm deliberately avoiding any detail, and I'm just going in really quick. This painting didn't take long, maybe 40 minutes or so. It's really fast painting, and I'm loving it because I've said a million times I've got no patience, and the minute I've started painting, I'm wanting to see the thing finished. So I'm loving the fact that this style works so quick. So I'm sort of starting at the top of the painting. The only thing I wish I could make the brushes much bigger in Artrage. If Artrage ever watch this video, please make it so that I can make the brush sizes bigger than 100%. And also, it would be cool to have custom brushes on the app. If they did that, I don't think I'd ever use the desktop version. I would not that I've made any custom brushes actually. So this app really pretty much does everything that I like. Anyway, I'm really going to resist putting in any detail. I'm just sort of looking at shapes, really looking at abstract shapes, and just sort of popping in patterns of shapes to put in the shadows on those trees, and trying to give the impression of the shapes of the bushes and things without actually painting them, if you know what I mean. So it kind of sounds a bit stupid, doesn't it, that I'm not actually painting them, because I am painting them, but I'm really not looking too close or at the detail, and just getting in shadows. But I do use the blending knife, and it's the I think it's the flat out one, the one that sort of just sort of spreads the paint out. It's the one I've used a lot. I'll write down what it is, I can't remember. So going in with the water, and I thought the palette knife would be great for this, because I can just scrape it through the water and it gives these nice reflections which work straight away. So just with a few scrapes of that palette knife, I've got this water effect going off, and sort of really happy with that top third of the painting. I'm just sort of wondering now how I'm going to finish the other 2/3. Really pleased with how that's gone. So I'm sort of bringing in this grass, and I know I've got this really big expanse of grass. So learning from the last painting I did, I'm not going to try and paint any, you know, I would never ever paint every blade of grass, but I'm not even going to do sort of clumps of grass. I was just going to go in and put in great big horizontal strokes right the way across the painting, and that is the way I'm going to try and treat the grass in this painting. Going back in, working a little bit more in the water, I felt it didn't look just quite realistic, so I am failing a little bit because I'm going back in, working it again. Not too much though, I don't think. I still think it looks really good. The only thing is, I think I've got too much yellow in the background. You know, that's got to be, the background's got to be pushed back, and that's not happening at the minute because of that yellow there, so I've got to sort that out. And then I've got this sort of bright green in the middle ground, so it's all looking a little bit weird at the minute, and I'm sort of wondering what's going through my head is, what am I going to do with the foreground? But luckily enough, I've got all these little daisies in there, so I think, right, okay, let's be bold, let's just get out the tubes of paint, squirt some colour on, and paint some daisies with tubes of paint. And then I'm going to get that palette knife and start smearing it all out, and I pretty much lose all of those petal shapes and things that I've created with the tubes of paint. So the task now is to somehow get all of the detail in that foreground, all the grasses and blades of grass, without painting all of those blades of grass, and just try and do it using that flat brush. So I continue working on the petals of the daisies for a little bit, and then I start, if you just use a very light pressure, a really light pressure on the brush, you can get quite thin strokes. So I'm sort of flicking in a few of those blades of grass there. And another secret is, you know, vary the colour. Let's have lots of colour, different colours in there. But I am picking the colours off the painting from the top third. So, because what I want to do, I want to get a balance in the colour. I don't want the bottom third to look as though it's been painted with a different palette to what I'm using in the top third of the painting. So I'm continually just sampling colours from that top third to bring down into the bottom third. And at the minute, you know, nothing's looking really detailed. You can't tell they're daisies really, and that is the secret. When you're painting something that's almost abstract like this, you still want people to know that they're daisies, even though I'm not going in with a crazy amount of detail. And I've got another problem now. If you look at the painting, where's the focal point? What is the bit that's going to draw your eye in? There's nothing. It's just sort of an empty field with some out of focus daisies in the foreground. So that's something I've got to deal with, and I've also got to deal with the middle third, which looks a bit empty. So I decide that what I'm going to do for the focal point, I'm going to make the daisies, or just a couple of the daisies, the focal point, and they're going to be sort of in that lower third, but sort of on the perfect ratio, you know, sort of on the perfect thirds along there somewhere. And I'm going to use a counterbalance of darks, really dark shadows, and the whites of the daisies to draw your eye in. So that's the plan I've got in my head. So I'm just sort of flicking in a few of the daisies that look a little bit more like daisies now. So even though they're just sort of very simple brush strokes, look, just simple strokes just to give you the eye of those daisies. And then I'm going to sample at some point. Not yet. I'm working on that, sort of jumping all over the place now. I'm working on that middle third, and I try something out, and then I start putting in. You see those dark shadows I'm putting in the foreground, but I've got this kind of dip in the field, which has got to go. I don't know what I was thinking when I did that, but in the meantime, I'm still working on those sort of dark shadows in the foreground. A little bit heavy at the minute, and I do need to work on them somewhat. But there we go, working on that middle ground again. But I do have a secret weapon for this middle ground, and you'll see that in a minute or two. I am conscious that now that it's looking a bit flat, I haven't got the depth that I want. I want to be able to go really way back into the painting, and I just haven't got that yet. But here we go. This is the secret weapon for the middle foreground. The two people sitting in the deck chairs. I don't know if you spotted them on the photo earlier, but that is what's going to make that space not look empty, I suppose, and sort of tie in that sort of top third with the bottom third just by popping those in. No detail, just an indication that they are there. So it's getting there. I'm getting there. I'm really happy. I'm feeling it's working. I'm not sort of crashing and burning at this point. In fact, I feel much happier than when I was doing that stormy sky, the really nice sunset where I was really struggling with it. I don't feel as though I'm struggling with this one at all. I'm really pleased, and that's it. I've got rid of that sort of bright yellow in the distant ground, you see. So sort of to push that back a little bit further. I could have made it a little bit more blue, perhaps. Put a bit more blue in there. Strengthen up the water a little bit. I've got a feeling I'm going to put some more vertical strokes in with the palette knife into that water. Add in a little bit more colour in the foreground. A few more daisies, but not quite as white. They're sort of off blue a little bit. And you can see I've picked that daisy out with the dark either side of it to sort of make that pop a little bit. There we go. And then I sort of put a little bit of grey in that water and drag that down. I'm just trying to work on getting the depth into the painting right now. But I'm really pleased how it's going. I feel that I need to just sort of just put a few highlights in those bushes just to sharpen them up a little bit. It is a bright sunny day, so we're working with a totally different subject than the last time I was using this technique. Just sort of adding that, sort of bringing that bush, that distant bush right down to the water. It was way too high before, so I've just sort of brought that down a little bit. And just add in the finishing touches now, signing it. Really pleased with this one. I think it's worked. I'm happy with it. I tested it on Special K. She said it looked okay. So I'm good. There we go. That's a thick paint in Artrage yet again. This time with a really bright summer's subject. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, big thumbs up as always, much appreciated. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing because I have lots of videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.